All right, I believe we are now live, doing some more operations with my DCC locomotives. We're going to get the BNSF intermodal rolling in a second here. Already got the small Santa Fe train, which we had running in the previous live stream going. Hopefully some people will join in shortly. I'll set the chat to live, so hopefully I don't miss any messages from anybody out there. Model Mainline, hello. Giga Chat Productions, hello. Whole bunch of people joining in. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Howdy, howdy. Frito TV, welcome. Caboose 1973, hello SMT. I'm glad to see if you're finally doing a live stream. Your videos are the best. Oh, thank you. Aloha from Hawaii, welcome. Let's try and get this to zoom out a bit here. I'll get that moving a little bit quicker. We might have lost a couple cars actually. Guess we'll back up and try to collect those. I don't know why they uncoupled. Salut from Quebec. Hello. No, I don't speak Spanish, sorry. Hello from Buffalo, New York. Welcome. Can you run the GO train with the Mahano 482? We could probably do that. I actually got the GO train off of that bridge the other day because I was doing some work on the layout. Anyway, I think we're coupled up here. Let's see if we collect the whole train. There we go. Hopefully it won't uncouple this time. That's more like it. I was doing a whole bunch of work actually on the intermodal train too. A lot of people were saying it looked a little too clean. You know, you never see a clean intermodal train. They're always, you know, weathered and covered in vandalism. So that's what I did to this one. I put some graffiti on it and add some other decals. Sorry, my switch was misaligned here, so the train is actually going the wrong way, so hopefully it can back out of this. SMT, are you excited for Valentine's Day? I guess. I don't know, the amount of holidays going on these days. It's all fun, but frankly, trying to work and have all these holidays at the same time, I find is quite confusing. Can you show us the weathering? Yeah, I was just about to before this went off the main line. I really wish I hadn't gone down this track here because that's about a 15 radius curve. Valentine's Day is the most hyped day of the year. I don't know about that. I think people are way more lit up about Christmas and Halloween. At least they are in my household. I mean, I don't know. Okay, let's see if we can get this train going a little better this time. So I'll slow it down here so you can all see the weathering I did. I just put some paint on the bottom as well as some random bits of graffiti. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but yeah. Ricky M, I'm joking about the Valentine's Day. Oh, all right. Hey, SMT, could you do a Q&A live stream? I kind of consider all these live streams Q&A live streams. I mean, you know, we're running some trains, but if you have any questions, you know, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them. They should make an SMT day. Well, there's the channel birthday, which is October 3rd, I think. The weathering looks great. Thank you. The first car on the train looks derailed. I don't think it is. The first car is derailed. Gee, I don't see any derailments. What's the best brand of track? Most of my track is Atlas track. I think it's probably the most common brand out there. A lot of people who are into building larger layouts, I find, are quite obsessed with Pico. And I have some Pico switches on my layout. They've been pretty good. They're quite expensive, but they're very high-end. They actually still make them in England, which is quite impressive. So Atlas is all good. Pico's probably slightly better, but you pay more for it. Did you add more to the valley ravine under the new bridge? Well, I'm not sure how many people were in the previous live stream, but I did actually add a whole bunch of water and stuff, and I extended the ravine because obviously it used to end right there. So it has had some progress done to it. I don't know what's going on with my camera. This still looks kind of zoomed into me. Anyways, is the Hershey factory done? The Hershey factory is like 95% complete. I've been doing a lot of work on it lately. I've got the back of it mostly complete now, which is really the last bit which needed to be done. So at this point, it's about just building a whole bunch of different air conditioners and things of those sorts. I've got a lot of Hershey stock already set up, as you can see. So I'm hoping to have it done by June 16th, I believe it is. Yeah, I think it's June 16th, because June 16th was the day that it actually opened back in 1963. So this year is going to be the 60th anniversary. So I think it'd be really cool to officially complete the factory on that same day. Unfortunately, in the meantime, things are not going so well with the real facility, though. They're actually now closing down the Herbs and Spices factory, which moved into the Hershey's factory a few years ago. So that's kind of surprising news. They've probably spent about $500 million renovating that facility, and it's all going to be for nothing now. But yeah, it's just the way she goes sometimes, I guess. What's your favorite steam train that you own? Probably my Swedish E2 locomotive. Sounds like something actually is derailing right now. Don't know what that's all about. Where's Nerf Cat? I don't know, he's somewhere upstairs. Hey, SMT, I got a $25 box of model trains with Athearn Burlington Northern locomotives. How much are they worth? An Athearn Blue Box locomotive in working order is probably worth between about 20 and 30 bucks. I mean, if it's like a Dash 9 or something, it's going to be worth a little more than that, but a regular one like an F unit is not going to be worth an insane amount of money. They're great engines, though. They rarely break. I mean, I've got some of those locomotives. They're over 60 years old, all original parts, and they still run fine. Hey, SMT, can you do a video on how to add DCC to an Athearn Blue Box locomotive? I think that could be done, yeah. Anyway, somebody asked for me to get the GO train running, so I guess we'll try to get those cars out on the main line. Maybe we'll try to run the intermodal train and the GO train at the same time. That could get interesting. I don't know. It should be good. We'll stop the intermodal train to get the GO cars out on the main line, though, because there's no way I want to be getting those set up at the same time. So we'll just halt the BNSF freighter right there on the main line, and we'll go try to get those cars out. I'm not sure what locomotive I should pull them with. It would be preferable if it was something DCC, because then I can use it with this controller. I mean, I can use a DC controller, but I don't know. Oh, looks like we've got a super chat from Timmerman765. Whoops. Hey, Harrison. Have you thought about playing Trains 2019 or Microsoft Train Simulator? I haven't played either of those games in quite a while. My Windows XP machine actually kind of bit the dust, so I haven't been able to play Microsoft Train Simulator anymore. I haven't played Trains with a Z in a long time. I mean, the truth is I just don't play a whole lot of video games anymore, but yeah, if I can get my XP machine going again, I probably would do another Microsoft Train Simulator video. It still is my favorite train simulator, I'll say that. Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. Have you heard about the Norfolk Southern derailment in Ohio? Yes, I have. I really hope everybody's doing okay throughout that. To be honest with you, I haven't checked in on the news for a couple days now, so I don't really know what the progress with that is. But last I heard, they were worried because they couldn't get the fires out that one of the tank cars was going to spill more vinyl chlorine, I think it was. So I really hope that didn't happen. Run a GP30. Well, we'll see here. Unfortunately, these cars are oriented the wrong way, so yeah, I'm not really sure. I think we'll just pull them from the wrong side. Hey, SMG just read my comment about a box of trains, but the Athearn Blue Box is a newer one. It was purchased in a different country for about $100. How much is it worth? Well, like I said, an Athearn Blue Box engine is not worth a whole lot, even if it is a newer one. We could use the Hiawatha. That might be fun. I just don't know. Run the daylight. Those are both broken. Can you run a Go Transit? I mean, we could get the actual Go Transit locomotive out. I mean, that would be most fitting. Not the most exciting engine I have in the collection, but it'll do the job. Couplers don't look ideal, but we're just gonna go with it. Certainly gonna start things off slow, though. I don't want to do anything too crazy here. That's really weird. For some reason, this has not been working with DC locomotives ever since a couple days ago. And you can hear it making noise, but when I give it power, nothing happens. So we're gonna have to pick something else here. Something digital, to be exact. I think that one's probably addressed to number 3, so that's not a good one. Run the long, boy. Yeah, but it's also DC. This might work. Okay, very nice. I just need to get that BNSF freighter going real fast before the intermodal goes and crashes into it. Does it have a tsunami speaker? I believe it does. And I think it's also derailed. Oh, no. So some sort of a short circuit. I have no idea what's going on right now. This is the one thing about DCC that I'm not a very big fan of, is that it's so darn sensitive. You make one little mistake and it reboots. But anyways, if I could try to get this thing going again here, let's see. Yeah, it looks like something's derailed. Beautiful horn, though. So I'm just trying to get the intermodal train going at some sort of speed, and then hopefully that will kind of self-maintain there. There we go. Oh, looks like we got another super chat. Let's have a look at that. Hey, SMT, I saw a Canadian Pacific with an NS ES44AC the day before yesterday. Can you run that next? I don't think I have one. I wish I could, though. Thank you so much for the super chat. A few weeks ago, I told you I had an old Kato locomotive that was running slow. I cleaned it like you said, but it just did the same thing. However, I discovered it had DCC. Do you have any other ideas? If it has DCC, do a factory reset, because somebody might have adjusted the CVs to control the top speed, in which case it's going to cause problems. So there are videos online on how to do a factory reset, and I bet if you did that, it might just fix your problem. Hey, just wanted to say that your videos are amazing. I have something I would like to send you, but I don't know how. I have a video online, it's called SMT Mainline. I got a P.O. box, and in the description of that video is the address to that P.O. box. So yeah, thank you so much for the compliment, though. I really appreciate that. What's the most cursed train you have in your collection? Oh boy, let me see if I can find it here. I got two pretty cursed locomotives. First one is this. It's an old Lifelike locomotive, and it's missing a lot of parts. The previous owner really did a ton of damage on this, so it's not a great locomotive by any means. The other one is something I actually crafted myself out of a bunch of shells which were supposed to go in the garbage, which is the world's largest Santa Fe locomotive. This really freaks people out. It's so hilarious seeing people's reactions at the train club when I bring this over there. It's always a double take, because from a distance it just looks like an ABA set, but in reality, it is in fact a single locomotive. I was wondering what the hell that was. Yeah, pretty unusual. I kind of wonder if I have to clean my track. I don't know why the sound keeps cutting out every time it gets to that corner. Does that monstrosity have a decoder? No, it's a DC locomotive. I never actually got it to work fully. It runs back and forth, but the wheels don't have enough range to actually go around the corners. I'm hoping to change that, though. Have you ever put DCC in a blue box locomotive? Yes, I have before. You have to work on them a lot, though, just because the current draw on those motors can be a little too high, so you need to make sure that you clean that out well so that it's actually efficient enough to work. Low detail Athearn blue box locomotives are gross. I mean, yeah, I find a lot of blue box engines are not exactly lookers, but they're cheap engines and they last forever. I have no problems with blue box engines, and you know what? If you have the skills, you can put handrails and everything. You can repaint them. Like I've seen some Athearn blue box locomotives, which from the factory were not very good, but they've been modified so much that they're actually very realistic looking locomotives. So don't let that deter you from them. I'm gonna try to get the BNSF going a little faster here. We'll get that going at 77 steps. I'm gonna release that. Number 3, set that. We're gonna have to get this going a little faster to stay ahead of it. Hey SMT, I recently saw something for sale and it looked like the real HCW Wakefield train. Okay, I don't know where that comment just went. Is ground chalk a good idea for weathering? I don't know. It's probably fine. Whatever you do, just keep it off the wheels. That's the big thing. You don't want that kind of stuff getting in your... anything electrical, you don't want to go near that. Have you ever put DCC in a Tyco engine? I can't say I have. It's not impossible. I know people that have actually put DCC sound in Tyco locomotives. Whether or not it's a very good idea, I'd probably say not so much because, you know, you're putting a $100 decoder in an engine that's worth like 20 bucks. But if it's really sentimental, I mean, why not? Waste of money. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Most of the old Tyco engines, I love the old Tyco engines. They're a lot of fun to mess around with, but, you know, if I have a DCC decoder, I'm going to want to put it in something decent. Did you build all of your buildings? Some of these came in kits, but like the Hershey's factory was completely built from scratch. There's not a single... you know, part of that building that came from a kit. There were some handrails and things like that, but, you know, it's not like you can buy a kit to build Hershey Smith Falls, so. You know, I'll try to get into the hub of the activity here. I think we'll be able to kind of rail fan every train at the same time. Has your dad helped you build your layout? When I was younger, yeah, he was quite involved with it. He hasn't been involved probably in the last 8 years or so. But I don't know, whenever I'm up to something, sometimes comes down here and just kind of checks out what's happening. The Titanic movie is in theaters for the 26th anniversary. Do you plan on seeing it? Probably not. I find that movie super disturbing, and a lot of people, and they're like, oh, it's so romantic. I don't get it. I'm surprised the trains haven't caught up yet. Well, I keep kind of playing around with the speed here on this one. That way it hopefully doesn't bump into the other one, because it slows down a bit on this corner. I think it's dirty or something. I don't know. Hey, SMT, I recently saw for sale, looked like the real HCW Wakefield train. Has anything changed where they store them? The website says the Ozark Mountain rail car. If it's railway in Maine, it might be just because they had the same stock. Because around the end of the 90s, because the Cold War was over, the Swedish were offloading basically their steam reserve. So one of the steam locomotives came up here to Canada, the other one went to Maine, but they look very similar. So maybe that's what you saw. But no, nothing's changed with the Wakefield train. In fact, there was an article published recently that they don't have any plans with it, because a few years ago they were talking about moving it up to a farm, and I guess they never got the funding to. But frankly, I'm kind of happy it didn't go through, because storing a steam engine outside is not preferable. You know, they take a lot more maintenance. It's better if they're in a somewhat climate-controlled environment. The other thing is that, you know, there's not really any chance of returning it to service if they did that. So hopefully they leave it in that shed for a good long time, and then we can come up with something better. What if you put music on while the trains are running? When you see a comment, you could turn it down and pause it. Just a suggestion. I would love to play all sorts of music during these live streams, but it's against the site's policy, because it's all copyrighted material. You can't do that. If you do, you'll get suspended. Hey SMT, I was browsing a railroad site and I came across a German/Swiss diesel locomotive, same paint scheme as the Wakefield train, and it was in Gatineau for 60,000 Canadian dollars. Yes, the diesel is listed for sale. I'm pretty doubtful anybody's going to want to buy it, because it actually doesn't meet North American braking and acceleration standards. So really the only people who would probably want something like that would be like a museum. It also has foreign couplers, so it wouldn't work on Canadian rail lines, even if, it was a private railroad. But yeah, the diesel is for sale. The city wants to get rid of it. Olin Holcomb, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Thank you so much for the super chat. What are your favorite train movies / documentaries? Documentaries for trains would have to be Locomotion, which was a series British Broadcasting did a few years ago. I think it was back in the 90s. Great series about the history of rail around the world. I watched that as a kid, actually, and I still return to that. As for train movies in general, though, of course there's Unstoppable, there's Runaway Train from 1985, there's The Railrodder from 1964, which actually stars Buster Keaton, so that's a pretty good one. And there's Silver Streak with Gene Wilder, so those are all pretty good train movies. Don't know too many outside that. What about Thomas the Tank Engine? Thomas the Tank Engine's great, but I don't know. People might hate me for saying this, but it's a kid's show. Would you consider placing a movable bridge on your layout at some point? Maybe so. I tried to build one once. It never worked properly. Thomas has been a kid's show. I don't hate you. Yeah, no, there's just some people, and I find they're like, no, it's not a kid's show. It's something, when adults can enjoy too and stuff. It's like, I don't care if you still want to watch it. I'm just saying it's a kid's show. I personally don't anymore. Hey, SMT, I noticed that my Mahano 482 has lost some parts. Do you know where I could find replacements? Oh boy. I mean, obviously eBay is the go-to, but good luck trying to find that. That's the sad reality of trying to look for parts. Not a lot of people make them. There's not very much aftermarket for a lot of things, unless the manufacturer still exists, but Mahano is quite displaced. Any opinions on Atomic Train? I mean, Atomic Train, I think, was a very well-filmed movie, but I don't really like it. It's too depressing. I mean, it's just such a disaster. What a dim movie. Thomas is based off a railway series, which is a British set of books, and the books were not meant for kids. It was meant for a general audience. Well, yeah, say what you will. I still think it's a kid's show. Can you run a Tyco Spirit of 76 locomotive? Yeah, we could probably make that happen. Yeah, let's see if we can synchronize the speed of these two trains well enough to set something else up. Hopefully nothing derails. If it does, we're going to have a bit of a pile up here, I think. Other locomotives you're able to run on your mountain layout. Well, I think for the Spirit of 76 locomotive, we should try to run that F unit I repaired recently. Uh-oh. I'm going to set it at about 52 speed steps. I feel like that's enough to keep pace. Anyways, let's see if I can find that Spirit of 76 locomotive. Alright, here it is, the beautiful red, white, and blue Spirit of 76. And we're going to try to run this on my mountain layout, which is not something I do super often, but I'll try it out today here. Just an FYI, I don't know how well this is actually going to work. I haven't cleaned the track on this layout in a real long time. So, might be a bit iffy, but let's go with it. I don't know what's going on with my DCC controller. It will not let me drive any DC locomotives anymore. SMT, which province of Canada do you live in? I forgot. I was pretty sure you remember. I remember you saying it was Alberta, but I could be wrong. No, I live in Quebec. I live on the border. I'm right beside Ottawa, so I live in Quebec. I love Quebec. Great province, but you know, Ontario, Ottawa more specifically, I would also kind of consider my city because I've had jobs in Ottawa. I've worked in Ottawa. You know, I go there for entertainment and stuff. So yeah, no, and in Ottawa, separate cities, but I know them both pretty well. Do you know about the Lac-Mégantic derailment then? Yeah, I mean, that was a huge tragedy. There was actually a lot of fundraisers throughout Quebec at lots of stores for, you know, the families who were involved with that unfortunate event. I didn't live anywhere near that. I'm, I think, 4 hours away from where that happened, but I mean, it was a real tragedy to begin with, but for the province as a whole, not a great situation. Anyways, this is what's going on. So you set release set. I don't know if it's because it's set to 0. If that's why it's all messed up. But if I try to do this, this does the same thing. So I have no idea what's going on, but unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to run this locomotive. Besides the Wakefield train, do you have any tracks near your house? Well, there's still an operational train not too far from where I'm at, the Quebec and Gatineau Railway, which still comes right into the edge of Gatineau. So, you know, that's pretty close. I don't know, it's probably like 5 minutes away, honestly. I could go and take some videos of them shifting stuff at that plant. But that's it. If you go into Gatineau, downtown Gatineau, there's no more rail operation. It's all gone. You should build a castle around the support beam or something. Yeah, to hide that. You should try to run your most cursed locomotive. Well, I'll get that lifelike on here. We'll try to see if we can get this whole DCC system going. I don't have a clue why it doesn't work. That's a bad piece of track to test it on because there's no power. See if we can maybe get something to run with this. What does that mean? Stello. Oh, I'm real confused now. Can you run the cab forward? I think I'm gonna have to switch over to DC because, yeah, in order to run that, I will have to, I'll have to swap over because, again, I don't know what's going on with my controller here. It's doing some real strange stuff. Please stay on the DCC. Still nothing. Well, I don't know. Get that off the main line before it burns up. How long is the layout? I think the layout's 16 feet long. Is the whole layout DCC? Yep. You have to have a double O on another remote. I don't know. The other day I was running them both and it was fine. How many feeder wires do you have in your layout? Just the ones that go to the track. You see the O gauge layout. I don't know if it's plugged in right now, but yeah, we can try to use that. Do you like Digitrax or NCE better? I don't know. I've never really used NCE products, so I can't say if they're any good. Too many trains. Yeah, I know. We got 4 different trains going right now. Utter chaos. What curves do you have on the layout? They are 22s. I'm just gonna shut that one off because it's kind of loud. Would you recommend using foil or cloth for building mountains on an HO scale layout? Probably, I'd say cloths. Go with cloths. I think that foil would look kind of unusual. The electricity bill here must be insane. HO scale trains don't really use that much energy. I mean, they're using like a quarter amp, like it's nothing. You can run them off a little battery. What's your rarest Tyco locomotive? Mine is an extremely rare CNW GP20. Mine is a Milwaukee Roadie 8, I believe it is. I'll go try to find it. Just set this up here. Yeah, this is my rarest Tyco locomotive. These are not impossible to find. but trying to find any Tyco locomotive in good shape is kind of tricky. And specifically, one of these will go for quite a bit of money on eBay, like $70, which might, not sound like a crazy amount, but for a Tyco engine, that's a lot of money. Do you have any advice for HO scale beginners? I'm starting off with a Bachmann Rail Chief set and some additional track, one switch. Can you give me some help on how to get a start? Well, it sounds like you've already got yourself off to a pretty good beginning there. I mean, those sets come with instructions and stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory. The only thing I would say with setting up one of those train sets is run your fingers over the rails when you connect two pieces of track, because you want to make sure that the rail joiners have actually made a proper connection. Because if they haven't, it will cause derailments. That's something I've had countless beginners complain to me about, so that's one thing. But the main thing that I tell people is really make it about what you want. And I know that sounds like such obvious advice. It's like, well, it's my layout, obviously, I'm going to pick what I want. But, a lot of people, when they're looking for advice, they'll get given these ideas that you need to find a place that you're modeling your railroad after, and a year, steam, diesel, so on and so forth. And if you're in the historical part of model railroading, that's totally fine. But, there are people like me and tons of other people out there who just want to run some trains. And for that, I'd say just buy whatever you want, I've got locomotives from Australia. I've got locomotives from England. I've got locomotives from Germany. This is an American layout, and I run them on here just because I want to, It's unrealistic, but it's all about having fun. So that's what I'd focus on, Just choose whatever you want, add it on there. I love the new Waffle House. Yeah, I know. I think that the residents of Dunderville have needed a fine dining establishment for a while now, and they finally have something nice around here. Waffle House is definitely a vibe. Waffle House has got to be one of the funniest restaurants out there. Like, there's just all this culture surrounding it. I mean, first of all, there's the Waffle House Index, which, for anybody who hasn't heard of that, basically, when a hurricane goes through a town, they go to the Waffle House, and if the Waffle House is still open, then that means that the storm wasn't that bad. If the Waffle House is slightly open, it's running off a generator, that means the storm was moderate. And if the Waffle House is closed, that means that this town needs help right away. So they've actually made an index based on Waffle House. I think it's great. So yeah, it's pretty funny, the culture that surrounds that. Anyway, something caused a short circuit, and then the layout somehow got power again. So I think we'll probably take this as an opportunity to get some of these trains off the main line, and we'll begin running some DC stuff, because there have been countless requests to get the big boy and other trains on there. So we'll get some of this off and start running some stuff. Can you run a CN? Maybe once we get some of these trains off the main line here. Randall Elson, there are only 2 rules. Rule number 1, it's your railroad, build it your way. Rule 2, there are no rules after that. Yeah, I completely agree. KFC. Yeah, we got a little KFC. This was actually sent in from a subscriber. It's an old waffle. Well, it's an old lifelike kit, which was not in very good shape, but I fixed it up and added a parking lot and stuff. I mean, KFC, to be honest, it's not really my favorite fast food establishment, but if you talk to any person who was around in the 70s, they said that restaurant was way better. They're so nostalgic about it. Anybody who was alive in the 70s, they said that was the place to go. So I wish I was around for that. Can you run a BC rail? Yeah, I think so. Let's just get some of these trains off the main line here. don't even know what's addressed here. I'll start by just getting the intermodal train moving here. Oh, there was a derailment. That's what caused this. DC or DCC? Personally, I prefer DC, but there are definitely some advantages to DCC when you are willing to spend the money. This whole live stream, I've been able to run multiple trains independently of each other because of it, so that's pretty cool. But generally, I like the simplicity of DC. There's less things to go wrong. It's also a heck of a lot cheaper too. Okay, let's see if we can get this going again here. What are your opinions on Bachmann? Bachmann makes okay products. They've certainly improved their product line significantly over the last 20 years. Bachmann products from the 80s, and the 70s, even the 90s, they were all kind of junk, so they've made massive improvements. But my main problem with them is that I find that they overprice their stuff. So, are they making horrible products? No. Are their products a good value for your money? I would say not. Unfortunately, we've got another intermodal derailment. I don't know what caused this. What time is it where you are? It is 10:14. I think I've got everything on track. Can you run the meatball after this? Do you have any Boston and Maine stuff? Yep. Kind of looks like those cars are still derailed, but the switches might derail them. SMT Bachmann steam locomotives constantly derail for no reason, brand new out of the box. Have you noticed this? Yeah, I find it's a common problem with Bachmann locomotives. I suspect it's because the flanges are not very big. Like, if you look at an old River Rossi locomotive, the flanges are huge. They actually call them pizza cutters because they're so big. And they're not realistic, but they stay on the track really well. So, I tell you what, if you want stuff to stay on the track, you make it flexible, you put proper weight in it, and you make the flanges as big as possible. You will not have derailments, but, that just goes against the prototypical design of a locomotive. So we need to put prototypical flanges, even though they're crazy unreliable. Anyways, let's get this freighter off the main line here, and then we can actually have some fun running some old DC locomotives. That's always a good time. I love your layout. Thank you. Do you still do requests? Yep, yeah, just haven't been doing as many this live stream because I'm not able to get my DC system going properly. I don't know why. Is sewing machine oil good for lubricating HO scale trains? I think it would probably be fine. I mean, I suspect the components of a sewing machine are probably brass, and a lot of older HO locomotives are also made out of brass, so I don't think that would hurt it. Just put some in it, see how it performs. I don't know if I'd go putting sewing machine oil in a like a Rapido locomotive, but if you're talking about an old Athearn Blue Box engine or something like that, something you didn't spend very much money on, they're not very sensitive. They'll usually work with just about whatever you use. I was using WD-40 for years ago for lubricating my Blue Box engines years ago. Not something I'd recommend. WD-40 is a pretty bad lubricant, but it didn't break them. Love the double stack consists. Thank you so much. Enjoy the videos, by the way. Thanks a bunch. Can you run a CN train? Yeah, I think so. I'm just gonna try to get these go-cars off the main line. Wow, doesn't have enough tractive effort. Hey, SMT, there's a lot on eBay going for 99 cents. Should I buy it? It sounds like a really good deal. Check out the shipping cost, though. That's where they get you. Hey, SMT, any suggestions about organizing giveaways? Nothing in particular. I mean, I'd suggest using a website of some sort, which is unbiased, just to sort out the comments. The other thing, though, that I recommend to everybody is be very cautious about scams, because I find what happens quite often now is you have these accounts and they'll pose as whatever channel. And I thought that this was a problem with my channel, but it turns out it's a problem across the site as a whole, which is that, people make these accounts posing as the creator saying, hey, you've won a giveaway. So if you're doing a giveaway, be sure to warn people about scams, because what you don't want to happen is they get a comment from one of these bogus accounts and then they get scammed. Because I got an email from somebody who unfortunately did get gotten by one of these idiotic accounts. So yeah, that's the one piece of advice I do have. Canadian Pacific or Canadian National? I prefer CN, but just for the paint scheme, nothing more. I'm a huge fan of Canadian Pacific too, especially the Holiday Train, all the other stuff they do. Both terrific railroads. All right, well, with all these pieces of rolling stock off the main line, I think we can start to run some other pieces of equipment. I think we'll start off with the big boy. How does that sound? Can you run a New Zealand train? I don't think I have any locomotives from New Zealand. Can you run an Australian train? Yeah, we can make that happen. KFC and a Waffle House. Yeah, finally starting to get more dining establishments on the layout here. What's the most powerful locomotive you have? Probably my 1957 Varney 280. I mean, that thing's just insane. It's got a 7-pole motor. Would you ever want a roundhouse on your layout? It would be nice. I don't have the space for it, though. Big boy triple header. Yeah, that would be quite a video. All right, so I think next up we'll get a Canadian National locomotive of some sort on, as well as the Hiawatha. Possibly a TGV to finish off the live stream. I'm not really sure. I just got a notification on my phone that I'm running on 20% battery, so I will have to finish things up fairly soon. But we'll get a few more trains in here quickly. Are all of your Union Pacific big boys by River Rossi? Yep, all River Rossi's. Not a bad brand. River Rossi actually put pretty high quality parts into their locomotives, but you know, a lot of these were built in the 70s and are quite worn out. So be cautious buying one is all I'm saying. Because if you don't know how to do your own maintenance on them, they can be quite temperamental. This is the one I want. Actually, both these steam engines. Do you have a favorite American railroad? BNSF. How do I get rid of heavy oxidization on a commutator and other electrical contacts the fiberglass pencil can't remove? There are a lot of options. The first one is to use a track bright. Those little, you can like shave off a corner of a track bright, and that will help you out. If that doesn't work, you could potentially, if you can remove the metal components, you can soak them in white vinegar. That will eat away the oxidization, so that's one option. Or you can use sandpaper. But if you're going to use sandpaper, use something that has a really high grit. You don't want to use like 50 grit. Go like at least 1,000 grit, because 1,000 grit's pretty fine and it's probably not going to damage the metal. But you'd probably want to, use some 1,000 grit to get rid of the heavy oxidization, and then maybe use some 2,000 grit to smooth it out, because a rough commutator is going to wear down the brushes really fast. So you want to use something as gentle as possible. See, this is something that bugs me. You have to be real careful to make sure that the wires haven't gone over here, because if they do, you're not going to be running any trains. All right, I think that's looking good. Have you ever visited Canadian Locomotive Works? I don't think I ever have. Yeah, I did say I was going to run an Australian locomotive, so we'll get one of those. What's your favorite railroad museum? I haven't been to too many, but probably to date Expo Rail in Montreal. It's a pretty cool place. What are you asking for your birthday? Any model trains? Peace on Earth. How's about that? I don't know. The truth is, when I want to get something, I usually just buy it right out, so I generally don't, I don't know. Can you run the CN? Yeah, well, that's next up. After that, we'll run the Australian locomotive. And then I think we'll try to get one of the TGV trains out, because I haven't run one of those in a real long time. Hello from Australia. Oh, welcome. Where do you get your model trains other than eBay and Etsy? From train shows, train stores, antique stores sometimes. You can also look on places like Facebook Marketplace. I don't know what's going on with Facebook Marketplace, though, but I find the prices of model train stuff on there have just been insane lately. Like, I remember a few years ago, you'd have a few people who would have their old Tyco collection listed and, think they were sitting on Fort Knox. But you could find good deals, and lately, every time I go on there, it's somebody selling something at some ridiculous price. So I've yet to see a good deal ever since 2020 on there. But I'm hoping that there is one day, because I would really love to do a video actually, buying shady model trains off Facebook Marketplace. I think that would be fun, doing some hunting and then actually driving to wherever it is and picking the trains up and seeing what I got. How long does it take for an HO scale train to stop working? There's no specific time. It's pretty random. I mean, it depends on the manufacturer. It depends on how well you maintain it. yeah, there are so many different variables. It's kind of hard to tell what the lifespan of an HO scale locomotive is, and it also depends on how you run it. Like I've bought some locomotives which were made in the 70s and they were hardly ever used. So I just threw some fresh oil in them and they're basically brand new locomotives. And none of the gears have wear on them. I can't remember the statistic though, but Lifelike, I believe, actually broke the record for a model train, like how long it was ran. So if you look that up, you should be able to find out how long one of their locomotives lasted, unmaintained, of course. Okay, so here we've got an Australian locomotive. This is a dipped in orange B class. Pretty sharp looking unit. Sparky, welcome to the live stream. I just got this from eBay. It is an HO scale Mahano train set untested. Okay, so $58 for a Mahano train set doesn't seem like a very bad deal. That's I mean, that's cheaper than what you even find one of those at a train show for, but that word untested, that's sketchy. Hopefully it works. I just find that when sellers are being a little evasive, that's usually a red flag. So on Facebook Marketplace, I've never had this happen with an HO scale locomotive, but there have been several times where I've bought like outboard motors and things off Facebook Marketplace, and they've just been like, oh, it's untested condition, and the motor has bad compression or something. So I think it's a case where people want to offload their garbage, but they don't want to be honest about that, so they say, oh, it's untested, I don't know what I'm doing. So they play dumb, that way they can scam people. So always be wary of that. That's so true, SMT. Yeah. Whoa, I wonder how this derailed. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It's too bad, but yeah, there were a lot of dishonest people on Facebook. I find eBay is not as bad just because they're actually held accountable. Because the last thing any eBay seller wants is a bad review. Like, that really puts a mark on their account. So they're usually a little more honest, but yeah, when you're buying stuff off Facebook, it's kind of sketchy. Always assume that it doesn't run. Yeah, that's very good advice, David. Last engine I bought off Facebook was dead on arrival. That's unfortunate. I mean, in my case, you know, obviously I don't want to be scammed, but if I buy a locomotive that doesn't work, since I like fixing them up, that's really not a big deal. But, you know, if you don't know how to fix them up, that might be a bigger problem. But it's more the fact, too, you might be getting overcharged, because a broken locomotive is worth like a third of what a working one is. So a $100 engine's worth like $25 if it's non-functional. That's just in my books. That's the rule. It's worth a third or a fourth. But, you know, say what you will. That's what they'll go for sometimes. Okay, something a little wacky is going on here. The locomotive seems to be derailing and then tipping over. And I'm really glad that I have that plexiglass in place, otherwise this $300 engine would have gone right off the table. If it says untested, think about the price and if I really want the engine. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. There have been times where I've overpaid for a locomotive knowingly, but the thing is I just want the engine so bad I'm willing to pay more than it's worth to get it. Not a great thing to do. If you're willing to wait long enough, you can usually find a good deal for anything, but you know, if sometimes it's going to take years. If you're on a hunt for a specific locomotive and you want to find it at a certain price, you know, maybe in 5 years you will find that engine you're looking for, but do you really want to wait 5 years to get it? You know, you pay a bit of a premium to get things sooner, but yeah, it depends. Do you want the money in your pocket or the locomotive? That's how I always look at it. Now, let me see if I can get this TGV thing going here. Let's run that. Controller Packers, thank you so much for the super chat. I actually prefer to buy something that says it doesn't work that way. I'm not disappointed. Why spend $200 for a Bachmann Daylight that you know is broken? Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna probably make a video too on locomotives that I would avoid buying used, because there are some locomotives you can buy used and you can be pretty confident that no matter what, even if the engine's broken, the parts or whatever will be worth it. But there are other engines out there that you want to avoid at all costs. And one of the big ones is old Bachmann engines, like the Bachmann steam locomotives from the 80s. The truth is Bachmann was actually quite good at putting detail on those engines. So it's not very easy to tell a Bachmann Daylight from the 80s to one today. So what really bothers me is you see these locomotives on eBay going for like $200, $150, and they're the old 80s ones, which are super unreliable, and you see people bidding for them because they don't know, you know, they think they're buying a modern engine, and you can get burned pretty bad on a deal there because those engines break all the time. Sparky, thank you so much for the super chat. Hey SMT, are you and your family coming to the YouTube meet and greet in Colorado, really May 18th to the 21st? I hope you can come. I'm not sure that I can, because I think I'm actually going on a trip in May, probably around that same time, but we'll play it by ear. Open to everyone. The meet and greets are awesome. I wish I got to go to your meet and greet in Scranton a couple years ago. I think that one just looked like so much fun. If it's a Rivarossi locomotive, it can be fixed. If it's a Bachmann, turn it into a Rivarossi. That's my thoughts. Yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, it's not. If you want to buy a Bachmann steam engine from the 80s, that's fine. But you know, there's a big difference between somebody knowingly paying $20 for an engine that's not that great and unknowingly paying $200 for an engine that's not that great. So that's just what you've got to really watch out for. SMT, have you been to Scranton and Strattsburg? I've never been to Strattsburg, but I have been to Scranton. I went there in 2017. There's a video somewhere on my channel of that trip. Hey, Harrison, I really like the GWR tank steam engine. Could you give her a rip with the period correct four-wheeler freight carriages? I packed the cars away. We can try to run the engine, though. Well, unfortunately I can't find it. However, I did find another British steam locomotive, which I haven't tried to run in quite a long time, so I think we're going to have a go with that. Sparky, I have to ask for a Conrail. Alright, we can make that happen. Any locomotives by Scale Trains? No, I've never owned a Scale Trains locomotive. I'd really like to, though. I've heard a lot of good things about them. I mean, they're quite expensive, but the detail looks tremendous. Hey, SimT, do you know what will happen? You don't happen to have the Union Pacific 844 by any chance? Unfortunately not. Anyways, here's a British engine, which I've not tried to run in a super long time, so I don't know how well this is going to go, but let's give her a go here. Come on, little trying. I think the wheels are a bit out of gauge. Wow, this thing does not run so well. You gotta give it credit though, this is probably a 60-year-old engine. And it's still going, all original parts. Comments are getting displaced pretty quickly here. I was about to read something that looked pretty interesting. Okay, yeah, here it is. Hey, SMT, do you think it's crazy that in about 50 to 70 years, our modern trains will be looked at as post-war Lionel? They'll have to name it pandemic-era trains. I don't know. I mean, the difference between a Lionel locomotive in comparison to a real locomotive in the 1950s would have been huge. I mean, they were super unrealistic, and now they've made locomotives which are so realistic, it's not like there's as big a gap. So, you know, a Proto 2000 engine in comparison to something today, you can spot the differences. The detail's not quite as good, but they're still pretty realistic. So I think that the window in which they can make these things more realistic is narrowing and narrowing until it's going to be virtually impossible, I think, to make them any better. Anyways, let's see if we can find Sparky one of his Conrail locomotives. I've seen one right here which might be of choice. Do you have any Rapido locomotives? I've got about 3 Rapido engines, all via rail stuff. A couple new manufacturers are coming out too. Aurora. I haven't heard of that one. I don't know if this is programmed to 2572. Let's see here. Just gonna restart Y throttle. It seems to be having some issues. What's your favorite display on the layout? I'm just curious. Probably the circus set, which is over there. It's kind of hard to see, but that was a very welcome addition to the layout. There we go. The sound system on this locomotive is just incredible. I mean, the horn really has some presence to it. Uh-oh. Yeah, the other day I actually had the horn get stuck, which wasn't so good. How's the Hershey's factory coming along? I'd say quite well. I was showing earlier in the live stream the fact that I actually got the back of this facility all finished off. So really all that's left to do is build air conditioners and things like that. And then, yeah, it's going to be complete. So I'm aiming for June 16th. Where are you going to add the Hershey's factory onto the layout when it's finished? It's already in place. It's on its own table and everything. The throttle's set to 0, but the CVs, I think, are having this thing go a little further. There we go. Controller Packers, did you ever put up the food trucks I gave you? I opened them up, and it turns out they were both kits. So I'm definitely going to add them. I love them. I think that they would look really good here in the downtown, but we're going to take some assemblies, so that's going to be a weekend project at some point. Hershey's factory, I'm getting flashbacks to Willy Wonka's Oompa Loompas. That movie's the best. Can you run a GG1? Yeah, we can do that. Maybe it can be a YouTube short. It might be, Hey SMT, do you have a fire station on your layout? Yes, I do, actually. It's right here. And that recent lot I bought off eBay too, it came with a whole bunch of fire trucks, so I decided to add them on. I'm pretty sure most of them are European, so they're not a perfect fit for an American fire station, but you know what, they look fine. Do you do operations on your layout? Not really. Whoops. You could fly a drone over the Hershey plant and make a video of all the structures as an aid for modeling. I really wanted to fly a drone over the Hershey's factory, but the problem was that, for anybody who doesn't know the story, Hershey's, they had a factory in Smith Falls. It was the first factory outside Pennsylvania, and then they closed the plant in 2008, during the Great Recession. And then it laid abandoned for about 5 years, and then a medicinal, let's call it a herbs and spices factory, bought the facility and turned it into that. And they left it as is for quite a long time. So, during that time, I really wanted to fly a drone over the facility. But just due to what they were making there, I thought that would look really sketchy. And there was actually a police substation right across from the factory. So I wasn't really interested in getting in trouble over that, so I left the herbs and spices factory alone, And then, you know, it all got legalized in Canada, so it wouldn't really be a problem probably flying a drone anymore. But by that point, they had renovated the factory so much that it's not really a Hershey factory anymore. It's the herbs and spice places, which as of recently I found out they're also abandoning that place too. So it looks like it's going right back to being an abandoned factory, but this time it's modern. So hopefully some chocolate manufacturer or somebody will buy the facility and start production again. I could think of one company which I think would fit very well there, but I doubt they're ever going to come back. Go get arrested. Yeah, but I can't anymore. That's the problem. There's nothing to film. Alright, maybe I'll run this in the other direction. Hopefully it won't derail. DB Tech, run the Gandhi Dancer. Alright. I can see that you could probably find photos of the roof's plant on Google. Yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I should really do a video on how to make an HO scale building, because the complication with this is that, you know, there were no dimensions to build a 1/87th scale version of this factory. So in order to do so, I had to find dimensions. So what I did was I went on Google Maps, and I was able to lay out points and measure it in feet. And then, you know, you divide that by 87. And then once you get your measurements, you lay them out in HO scale. But of course, once you have like a measurement of how long this wall is, you can compare it, and then you can actually get the measurements for height and stuff. So thanks to Google Maps, I was actually able to build this whole factory to scale. I don't think I could have done that had I not had that software. Run the ABBA Frankenstein thing. Alright, I think this will be the final train of the night. Well, that didn't go well. Oh, come on. Yeah, this thing needs some work. How many locomotives of yours are ones you restored? Oh, I would say at least half. I don't know. Most of the stuff I buy is not in working order. And I mean, I don't keep 100% of the locomotives that I buy. You know, some of them I give away. Some of them, the ones I buy, actually, some of them will sell off to like hobby shops and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I have a few in the works right now. I'll show you actually the little project stand. All those are up for repair. SMT, I have a question. All right, let's hear it. How do you switch from DC to DCC on your layout? I really want to make mine both. You have to get yourself a double pole switch, and then you wire the 2 outside points to that from each controller. It's pretty easy to do. I have a video somewhere on that. You should make an updated version of the GoPro train video. Yeah, absolutely. Using all the spare track you've gotten in packages. Do you think you can make a floor layout? I don't know. Do you film every repair? No, some of them. I film all the repairs on locomotives. You know, when I test out an engine which barely runs or doesn't run at all, almost every one of those locomotives gets a video. But there are some locomotives where they're like 80% functional. They just, you know, stutter a little bit. And I usually don't bother making videos about those just because I just feel like they would be kind of boring. I mean, it would just be opening the engine up, putting some oil in it, and then sealing it away, cleaning off the wheels, you know? Whereas the engines that don't run, it's a little more exciting because you actually have to go through and figure out what's going on with the locomotive, and maybe it's an engine I haven't worked on before or something like that. So I just find that those are more exciting. Adventures with the R&R Watts. Your opinion on the little Joe Diesels? I don't really know anything about them, to be honest with you. Anyways, I think I'm going to finish off the live stream. Thank you all so much for joining in this evening. I had a lot of fun running the trains. Hopefully I can get the DCC system working properly for the next live stream. That way I can actually run more DCC or DC engines with the DCC trains. That would be nice. But until then, I just want to thank you all so much for joining in. Have a great night, everyone.